The second core value that drives the Gates Foundation and the College Success Foundation's work is another deeply felt belief, and that is that all lives are of equal value, no matter where they are lived. I'll say that again. All lives are of equal value, no matter where they are lived. The random chance of a child's birth, whether he or she is born in a rich country or a poor country, in a rich neighborhood or a poor one, should not be a determinant of whether or not that child has the opportunity to live a healthy life and to get a basic education. But when we look at our world, we clearly see that we live in a world that is in deep crisis. We live in a world in which we say we care about children, but we let hundreds of millions of them live without basic food, shelter, education, health care in most developing countries and in many rural and urban parts of our country. We live in a world where we say and we profess that we care about the environment, but we continue to pollute it. We live in a world where we say we desire peace, yet terrorism, war, and inhumane atrocities are the order of the day and not peace. We live in a world where we say we believe in equality and opportunity, but yet we turn a blind eye to racial, ethnic, gender, and religious discrimination and injustice in our country and abroad. That's the world that we live in. Therefore, as people who desire change, and in my heart of hearts, I know that each of you in this room desire change. It is our responsibility, mine and yours, again I say mine and yours, to dedicate ourselves to being people who deeply and truly are committed to being instruments of change. People who are willing to lead from their heart. So I frequently ask myself two questions. First question is, how have I chosen to serve others in this day? And my second question is, how am I using the gifts and talents that God placed in me in that service? I pray, and this is a daily prayer, that I've allowed God to use the pain I feel about injustice, about educational inequities, to fuel the fire in my belly so that I can lead from my heart as I work to eliminate horrific educational inequities in our schooling system that many low-income children and children of color face. As I've moved from being a classroom teacher to a community relations advocate, to the co-founder of an independent school and primary school, to a higher education program and policy advocate in Washington, D.C., to a foundation officer at the Gates Foundation, now to my current position as the president and COO of the College Success Foundation, I've come to understand that it is my passion and my love for children that really drives me to excel. I believe that I've been successful in doing a number of different things. First, because of God's unfathomable grace, that's always number one. And secondly, because of hard work, persistence, and the encouragement that I receive from others. And then thirdly, because I got a good education that prepared me for life. But when I was in high school, I wasn't any different from all of you that are sitting in this room. I probably wasn't as good of a student as many of you, but I really feel that I would never give up. I would always work hard. And I tell people, I may not have been the brightest light bulb, but I was always the consistent one that burned the longest. And that has a lot to do with being successful, is how persistent you are. I've had people say, Deborah, on issues, you're like a little dog with a bone. And I said, and I don't let it go. I chew on that bone until it's finished. And that's what life is really about. It's finding what you are passionate about. It's an interesting analogy, isn't it? As you think about that, that mental picture is in your mind, isn't it? As you think about what you want to do, the thing that I have come to understand is that most successful people, if not all successful people, really connect to what they are passionate about, and they connect their life's work to that passion, and then they pursue it vigorously without getting distracted. That's what I call leading from the heart. Really figuring out what you're passionate about, connecting to that, and then not getting distracted. There have been times in my life where people have really said to me, you know, come over here and do this. But I've thought otherwise of that, because I know that is not the vision that God put in me. That is not the reason that I'm here on this earth. So I thought better of that, and I've stayed the course. So my advice to you, don't get distracted from your passion, because there's something that has been placed in you that God wants to use to change this world. I wake up every morning knowing that I'm doing something that I enjoy, that I'm having fun with, and that I'm making a difference. Without question, I know I'm fulfilling my purpose in life. So I'd like to talk to you now a moment about a good education. Since that's something that all of you are either pursuing vigorously or have pursued recently and have completed. When you think about what a good education consists of, it really is a combination of things. And it's not, I'm talking about this because I think all too often as students, it's about going to class, studying, taking the test, and finishing the course. And that's it. But it's much more than that. It's really about developing a set of competencies. And I say there's 4 literacies or 4 competencies. The first is quantitative literacy, which is really a command of computational skills required in the workplace and everyday life. Secondly, it's historical literacy, the familiarity with our national, international, and cultural heritage, and understanding the causes of and the relationships between historical events and our current circumstance. The third literacy is a communicative literacy, the ability to exchange ideas, information by oral, written, and electronic means. And the fourth literacy is a scientific literacy, having a solid grasp of the fundamentals of the physical and biological sciences and the ability to understand and evaluate new findings and discoveries. But more importantly, it's being able to bring all of that together, to integrate those different literacies and those different competencies so that you have a picture of the whole. It's the ability to see that big picture and to utilize those fundamental literacies. I also say that there are 3 other skills that are needed, and those skills have to do a lot with the employment and the work world. One is the ability to deal with the explosion of information. We live in a data and information overload society, and making meaning of that is so critical. Secondly, it's the ability to work with diverse groups of people, both in our society and internationally. And then thirdly, it's the ability to resolve conflicts and to understand the motivations and the ability to communicate beyond differences to common values and understandings. So these competencies, abilities, and understandings and values are something that, as a college student, you should be proficient at when you graduate. I say again, getting a good education is understanding that it's not just about the class, it's not just about finishing a particular major. It's really about understanding who you are, your place in the world, and developing this set of skills and competencies, and then applying it. And as Act 6 scholars, it's also about representing this program and your communities on your campus. When I was a part of the Council of Christian Colleges and Universities, one of the reasons why I went on the board of the CCCU is because of my experience at my former church in Washington, D.C. I lived in D.C. before I moved out to the Northwest. And I started a program called Pathways to College, which really was focused on, it was very similar to Act 6, helping young people become prepared for college. But what I found is that many of the young people that were at our church, they were predominantly African American, didn't know anything about Christian higher education. And when they went and they looked at many of the colleges, they said, this isn't the kind of college that I want to go to. And they wanted to know more about colleges such as the colleges that are in the CCCU. And so my goal with becoming a part of the council's board was really to help presidents, the leadership of our Christian colleges, understand what they needed to do to become campuses that have more diverse faculty and more diverse students. I think the thing that I understood, that there weren't many colleges nationally that were like Whitworth, that actually were reaching into the community to do more to support students from different ethnic and racial backgrounds. And I wanted to see more of the CCU campuses do that. I guess I'm really pleased that there has been an expansion of that work through Act 6. But I will say to you, it wasn't always easy, because very often, almost all the time, I was one of 1 or 2 women when I was serving on the board, and I was always one or 2 people of color. But what I've seen through that sojourn is more progress being made. And so I say this to you because I know it's not always easy being on the campuses where you are. And you are fortunate to have other people around you that are in your class that you can relate to. But you will often, regardless of your ethnic background, be placed in situations that are tough situations. Regardless of your gender, be placed in tough situations. But know that through the sacrifices that you make, that good will come of it. And that's what it means in terms of leading from the heart.